Yes, Dr. Nishikant.
Yeah, good afternoon, and apologize for the low bandwidth I had, so couldn't take off with my first lecture. But nevertheless, after the excellent presentation by Professor Ashwini Sood, I would like to go back on the imaging aspect in neuroendocrine neoplasms. So, right. So, all of us know about nuclear medicine, and the commonly used terms here, ligands, and we get what is called as a radiopharmaceutical or the radio tracer, or simply put, we call it as the tracer. Just to give an example, technetium 99M is a radionuclide, but 99M technetium maybe is a radio tracer. So the commonly used radioisotopes that we have here are either gamma camera based or PET based. The gamma camera based isotopes you already know of, technetium 99M, which we use for a thyroid scan, for a MEB scan, and iodine 131, which is used for therapy as well as diagnostic purpose. The PET based isotopes include the more commonly used F18 fluorine, which can be used in the form of FDG or fluorocholine or fluorodopa. And what is relevant to endocrinology is the gallium 68. Now, this is a positron emitting gallium, unlike the gallium 67, which you are seeing on the other side. Now, this gallium 68 is tagged to various molecules, including octet. So this is basically annihilation reaction that occurs in the body and emits antiparallel photons, which gets. Now, this is a exhaustive list of tracers that are used in endocrinology. The most prominent among them being the gallium 68, DOTA-TOC, DOTA-NOC, and DOTA-TATE. Now, I saw a question in the previous lecture as in what is the difference between these three tracers. Now, we have to understand that gallium 68 is the isotope here, which is common to everything. DOTA is the linker chelator molecule, which is again common to all three. But the ligand has a subtle difference in its chemical structure, which changes its affinity to the type of somatostatin receptor that it targets. So as Dr. Sood told earlier, DOTA-TOC would target receptor subtype 2 and 5. DOTA-NOC would target all three, 2, 3, and 5, where subtype 2. So generally speaking, DOTA-NOC would have a better sensitivity, but DOTA-TATE would have a better specificity. The other molecule that we are interested in is fluorodopa, which is used in a lot of neuroendocrine tumor imaging, mainly pheochromocytomas and paragangliomas of the neuroectodermal crest tumors and the midgut NETs. Other than this, FDG can also be used in poorly differentiated neuroendocrine tumors. And the one which has come up very rapidly these days is 18F choline, which is used in the localization of parathyroid adenomas. Moving on to neuroendocrine neoplasms, so they basically arise from the neural crest, and they have a unique ability to incorporate and decarboxylase the amine precursors. Now, these tumors include both the well-differentiated ones as well as the poorly differentiated ones, as well as neuroendocrine carcinomas. But we should remember that the carcinomas, if you see the distribution, around 72% are arising from the GI structures, 25% are bronchopulmonary in origin, and less than 5% arise at other sites. So we have a WHO 2019 classification for the GEP neuroendocrine neoplasms, in which they have graded it into grade 1, 2, 3, and neuroendocrine carcinomas by the Ki67 index. So anything less than 3 is 1, between 3 to 20 is 2, a Ki67 of more than 20 is grade 3. Other than that, two recent entities you should know. One is a MINENS, or the mixed neuroendocrine non-endocrine neoplasms, and a MANEX, or the mixed adeno neuroendocrine carcinomas. Now, NETs functionally, can present with a variety of symptoms. So we have distinct clinical syndromes, but majority of them are non-functioning, and they would either not present at all and are incidentally seen, or they could present with locally advanced disease. Now, what do I have in the imaging spectrum for NETs? One is nuclear medicine imaging, where we have gallium DOTA-NOC, we have technetium high-NIC TOC. We also have endoscopic ultrasound and associated FNA and FNB. In the conventional imaging, that is anatomical imaging, we have CT, MRI, and ultrasound. So nuclear medicine as well as radiological imaging basically targets the following aspects: detection of the primary tumor, evaluation of its local extent and relation to adjacent structures, staging of the tumor, evaluation of somatostatin receptor density, monitoring response to therapy, and detection of recurrent disease. So the SPECT tracers which we have used in NETs are mainly indium-111 pentatriotide and technetium-99m Hynek TOC. Iodine 123 and 131 MIBG would subsequently be covered by another speaker in another lecture. The PET tracers, which I have already discussed, DOTA TOC noctate, F-DOPA, fluorodopamine, FDG, and last but not the least, which has come up for insulinoma imaging, is gallium-68 exendin 4. Now, why do it? So we can't really tag it with any isotope and do a meaningful PET scan. So what do? We actually select 8 amino acid sequence, which is called as octreotide, and then we tag it to the gallium-68. Now, overexpression of SSTRs in well-differentiated NETs is well known, and this is what we exploit for imaging and therapy. The SSTR subtype 2 is predominantly expressed in the majority of the tumors. The mainstay in the decade of the 90s and early 2000s was indium-111 DTP octreotide, but now has been largely replaced with the gallium-labeled PET analogs. Now, somebody asked, what do you call intense uptake? Now, the Krenning score basically was given for the both grade 3 and grade 4 uptake. If you see in an NET, they are candidates potentially for PRRT. Now, this is just a busy slide which shows, the chemical structure of these DOTA and a minor change in this domain actually alters it. So in 2011 and 12, there were a lot of good studies which actually compared what should we be using. We should use DOTA TOC, or we should use DOTA NOC, or we should use DOTA TATE. And then some study compared TATE with TOC and said that both are clinically equivalent. Some others yet compared DOTA TATE with DOTA NOC, and then again said even these two are clinically equivalent. So by and large, every busy nuclear medicine practice which does gallium studies knows that all three tracers are working equally well. Said that why should somatostatin receptor PET be encouraged? Because it can change management in up to 50% of patients also. Now, these radiopeptides are basically agonists to the SSTR. They'll bind to the receptor, they'll get partially internalized, but they'll also wash out. To prevent this, there's some new research which is, focusing on antagonists like gallium NODAGA GR11. So the hypothesis is that and would allow us to image better. Now, this is just what I summarized. On left-hand side, you can see the radioisotope, which could be indium, technetium, or gallium. The linker chelator varies for all three, the DTPA, the Hynek, or the DOTA, and the somatostatin analog everywhere is the octreotide. Image contrast and beautiful images. Now, with indium-111 octreotide, there was another disadvantage that, now this is an example which I wanted to show you. Now, this patient had a bronchial carcinoid. Now, if you see here, there is collapse consolidation in the left lung, and then there is a mass, there is a rounded nodular lesion, but which we are not able to characterize well. But when we look at the fused images, we see intense uptake. This is what we call as intense uptake, like I told you. See the uptake in the tumor and see the uptake in the spleen. They are almost equal. So this is what we call as intense uptake. And very clearly we can say that this is a bronchial carcinoid. Another example, this is a, glomus jugulare with intracranial infiltration. So clear, very easily identified. And this also enabled us to give therapy to this patient. Similar example to just on the message. Now, the guidelines now say that wherever you used to use indium 1,1 pentatotide, please start using the PET analogs. Now, this is physiological uptake and distribution of the DOTA knock. You see the physiological uptake in the adrenal medulla, and you see the can is not to be considered as interpretable. Now, it is known that SSTR imaging will reveal additional metastasis compared to conventional imaging, especially bone metastasis and small peritoneal lesions. Again, if you have a look, this is a patient who has extensive disease. Look at the sagittal view of the spine. You see some sclerotic lesions, but look at the few PET CT images, and the lesions are staring at you. Diagnosis of the primary sign, the response to. Now, this was a patient who already had a gastric NAT and was undergoing follow-up imaging. And look at what we saw on the follow-up PET. Now, we saw another focus of intense uptake in the head of the pancreas, and this was a second NAT that we identified. Now, in this patient, we could not identify the primary, but there was significant metastatic disease, and all of it was intensely SSTR expressing. This is a patient we did, just like what Dr. Sood explained earlier. This is a patient whom we selected for PRRT. This is the pre-therapy.
Dr. Nishikant, you have to unmute yourself. You are muted. Dr. Nishikant, your slides are not visible. You just have to share it again and unmute yourself. You've got muted. Yeah.
Okay. Is it visible now?
We can see now. We can see now.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
So this was the example of the bronchial carcinoid, like I showed you earlier. Now, one has to remember that the uptake in pancreas is